survey the landscape and take a look at what is really in the country, because despite the millions and millions of dollars that are poured into helping broken government systems and trying to improve them, why is it that most of the world's poor are being educated in very, very poor, disenfranchised private schools, non-government schools, where the parents who are extremely poor, maybe street traders, market traders, headquarters, but largely illiterate themselves, living on sometimes less than $2 a day, are finding between the equivalent of $5 to $7 a term, with 3 terms a year, to send their children to a school that has been started by an individual, sometimes an illiterate individual who started her establishment or his establishment as a daycare, sometimes by a retired school teacher. So obviously, even though in Ghana, where public education is free, there in fact 40% of school-age children are not in school. Only 5% of children, teenagers aged 15 to 19 are considered to be literate. So obviously there's a huge market demand for schools outside of the government system, and that is where you have to start. And what we devised was we decided to create a program in microfinance, because the very first thing we learned about these schools is that they have no access whatsoever to capital. And they are in fact a business. And although the entrepreneurs don't really know how to run them as businesses, we decided that what we would do is we would teach them a day a week for 16 weeks, so we had plenty of time to reinforce the lessons they learned. We gave them business training and school management training and access to a loan. The way that we finance this is through the loan product. And even though most microfinance interest rates are between 36 and 42%, we've managed to do it for 28%. And we build the cost in of the trainings and the capacity building services that we provide. It takes a lot longer than I have here today to tell you all of the details of the program, but we have been able to partner with the government of Ghana. The government of Ghana recognizes that although they don't like these schools, that it's better to embrace them. So we are embarking upon a cooperative effort to bring these schools into the mainstream of the educational system in Ghana. The other thing that we do that I think is very important is to involve the community. Because if you don't develop, or don't teach these school owners how to develop and empower PTAs and develop community leadership, you will never get the community to embrace the school. So we are working together. I'm very, very grateful to the United Nations Office of Partnership, to Amir Dosal, for he has enabled me to meet with virtually all of the UN agencies and other organizations that can help us by advising us what the situation is, the country missions that we have been able to visit. And we have now, after just November, 120 schools are now in this program. We have partnered with a microfinance organization in Ghana, and the whole program is implemented by them. It's a Ghanaian NGO, microfinance institution. And I think that really the reason that we've come so far is because we have been able to get the attention of the UN agencies, of USAID, of the World Bank, and the Ghanaian government, and share best practices, listen to one another, and we're really, as a private foundation, funding this experiment and research. We have independent researchers documenting everything. And so we are hopeful that we are creating a model.
Thank you very much.
Is to take a look at the environment that you're working in and see what is there. how are the people themselves actually trying to address this? So rather than coming from the outside and impose, you know, people take trips and their hearts bleed and they start schools. There are already a lot of schools there. Work with those. There already are government systems in place. Embrace those. There are lots of United Nations agencies all working in the field, all who are willing to share with you their expertise. Use that. Make partnerships. So instead of coming in from the outside and imposing what we think should happen in these countries, empower them.
They're unaware of the other organizations doing fundamentally the same.
And being able to express that opinion with other people, because that's so important, and obviously, as you saw, it resonated. And I just wonder how that message is getting out so we continue that trend.
For me to voice that, and I think that you know, being able to actually research and document the success of something like this, and even though we haven't been doing it for very long, we really are seeing that, you know, what is changing in the schools as they're getting loans, as they're becoming empowered. And I think that the more greater, you know, as our work becomes more widely known, and the United Nations is certainly a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful platform if you're considered worthy. The more that people start to know about it, the more we blog on our website, the more we write about what we are doing, hopefully other people will start seeing that the place to start is right on the ground with the people who are already trying to solve the problem.
Programs do not create new organizations.
I think that the biggest thing to do if you want to make an intervention in a country such as Ghana and really make an impact is not to work in a bubble, but to work closely in partnership with the people who can advise you and who can give you a voice.
Is 100% on the right path when she talks the idea of children navigating their own. So the opportunity for children to identify what's important to them and then pursue learning about that in our education system, very sadly, that often isn't a broad opportunity for children until their post-secondary education. So her point is valid not only but everywhere. Our point is that if you allow children to ask questions about themselves first, the thing that's most important to them themselves, that they will develop this ability to not only be self-motivated but also direct their own learning, because they start to develop an inquiry-based point of view about learning, so that if they're asking, they're actually taking it to the follow-up question and the follow-up question, and that leads to them having their own direction in terms of what they want to learn. That's the most powerful kind of learning that there is. It's the discovery process. It's integral to the research process. It's all about creative learning, and it's about problem solving. So here we have an epidemic, because of how we measure progress, of memorization versus learning. If you insist on an inquiry-based approach to education, you can successfully divert that very negative trend and allow children again to be empowered. So she's talking about personal and social and cultural empowerment to use what you know as a base of learning. And again, that's true in Ghana and any world, and we completely agree with her on her